Hi everyone, this is just a little quick presentation for anyone who's having problems determining what kind of data they should collect based on their questions. There'll be a drop-in session as well for anyone who's still struggling. So the first question you're going to ask yourself is my data qualitative, quantitative or mixed? Okay, and this will become a bit more important as we go through to see what kind of tools we're going to use and what kind of methods we're going to use to collect our data. So once you've determined what your question is and you've got it nailed down, so you know that it's specific, you know it's measurable, you know it's achievable, you know it's relevant, and you know it's timely, what you're going to then look at is actually how am I going to collect this data? So if you are looking at, for example, attendance or attainment, okay, the kind of data you're going to be collecting is you're going to be collecting quantitative data more than likely. Okay, now some possible sources for this data could be attendance data, so that could be collected through CMIS. Okay, attainment data, either formative or summative. Okay, so whichever one fits your question best, really. Behaviour management data, you could look at demerits, merits, and referrals through CMIS or surveys. Now, surveys are usually qualitative unless they have standardized questions in them. Okay. Now, if you decide to go ahead and use a survey and you're not sure which one is it going to be, you're not sure if it's going to be quantitative or qualitative and what difference that's going to make in the end, then you can just drop us a quick email. Okay. So then moving on to qualitative data and some possible sources. Now, I suspect that this is what most people will be looking at because quite a lot of people are looking at engagement, okay? So what you could be using is you could be using questionnaires. Now, those could be used to measure people and parental enjoyment, pupil and parental engagement, okay? And a variety of other things. This is just possible sources. I'm sure you guys will think of much, much more. Okay, you could use transcripts of learning conversations. Now, possibly you could do this online through Google Meet and record it as long as you obviously tell the other person that you're recording the meeting, and that way it'll allow you to make a transcript of what's been said in a much more cohesive way. You could take notes from classroom observations. Okay, you could have audio or visual recordings of activities that you've done, or you could have some surveys with open questions, case studies, or focus groups. Okay, so those are just some possible ways that you might want to address your question. Okay, if you're looking at qualitative data. Now, when we're talking about qualitative and quantitative data, there are some advantages and disadvantages to each type of data. So why use qualitative data? Okay, so qualitative data allows you to have detailed examinations of thoughts, feelings, experiences, okay, but it takes into account your context, it takes into account the fact that it's flexible and adaptable, okay. So qualitative data can also be useful for providing a narrative around quantitative data. So if you have some quantitative data that you know is reliable and what you're looking for is a little bit more detail on that, what you can use is one of these qualitative data sources to sort of explore that further. Okay, and that's what we kind of really mean by mixed data. And also some people might kind of collect a bit of a combination of the two, but I'd really, really advise people to collect one or the other, just as this is the first time round that we're doing this. Every year that you guys do this, it'll become easier and easier. So what are the limitations of doing qualitative data? Okay, so it can be harder to analyse qualitative data, but for you guys this year, that's not going to be an issue because you're going to be putting in your baseline data and then your post-intervention data, and we're going to be doing the analysing this year for you. Okay, move forward, though we'll be looking for people to get more involved in the data analysis. So if you're thinking of using quantitative data, so what are the benefits of using quantitative data? So quantitative data is focused on basically combining information from across a group or multiple groups, okay, and it's to draw wider trends out. So high quality quantitative data can be generalised more to tell you about specific individuals that you're collecting data on. So for example, in elections, they only sample 1,000 people, but it gives you an estimate of what the whole country is feeling. Quantitative data can also provide you more precise information about particular statements, as well as indicating whether students' learning is different between different groups, whether it's changing over time, and by how much it's changing over time. So what are the limitations to it? Okay, so because quantitative data focuses on drawing out trends over a large number of people, okay, it's less effective at providing a lot of detail about an individual person. It also has its limitations in education because you're talking about, especially for this professional inquiry, you're talking about really small numbers of pupils. Okay, but what we're going to look at is we're going to take that quantitative data you provide and we're going to look at overall trends across the whole school. Thanks for listening. I hope that wasn't too patronising or too long, and hopefully it's given you a better understanding of what we're looking for at this point.